Happy New Year, and welcome to God's Hand in the Headlines, the every so often analysis of current events from a biblical point of view. The thing about starting a new podcast about the daily headlines on New Year's Day is that there are no headlines on New Year's Day. All the news people take all the holidays off, and all they're talking about on the news is New Year, the new year. So let's talk about that. What is the biblical perspective on the new year? How do we think about that biblically? Celebrating the arrival of a new year is not a human invention. That's God's design right from the very beginning of creation. Genesis 1:14, God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons, days, and years." And then he went on to do the creation in 7 days, which is also established weeks. Seasons are marked mainly by the moon, um, the days by the sunrise, and years by the earth's rotation around the sun. From the very beginning, God wanted time to be divided up into segments for humanity. And that's part of God's glory. That's described in Psalm 19. The beginning of each new day is described in a very poetic way. In Psalm 19:4, he says, in the heavens, he has pitched a tent for the sun, which is like a bridegroom coming forth from his pavilion. When the sun comes out every day, it's like a man on the first day of his marriage. This commentator Delitzsch writes this about that verse. He says, "The morning light has in it a freshness and cheerfulness, as it were a renewed youth. Therefore, the morning sun is compared to a bridegroom, the desire of whose heart is satisfied, who stands, as it were, at the beginning of a new life, and in whose youthful countenance the joy of the wedding day still shines." There's something especially delightful about the beginning of a day. And it's the same for the close of a day. Verse 5, he goes on, he says, "Like a champion rejoicing to run his course, the sun rises at one end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is hidden from its heat." So the emphasis there is on rejoicing. The sun setting at night is a kind of closure, like a runner finishing a race. It's a sense of accomplishment. We need something like that to draw our activities to a close at the end of each day. Again, this is God's design. Nighttime has a way of doing that, calling you to rest in an environment that's conducive to rest, leaving failures behind you, and then giving you a new, fresh start in the morning. Nighttime is a short-term ending point for so many of life's struggles. Very often you look at the Old Testament cleanness codes, and a lot of times uncleanness only lasted until nightfall, and then it was gone. It was over. The arrival of night gives us a reprieve and a respite from the difficulties of daytime. What a curse it would be, if you think about it, what a curse it would be to have just an interminable day in a fallen world where it never came to an end. No breaks, no new beginnings. What a marvelous thing it is each day to have this fresh new start and another chance to do well. God isn't just the God of second chances. He's the God of countless, unending daily chances. The same goes for new weeks and months and years and seasons. The Lord has built into our world an unending supply of new beginnings. This is part of his nature. And without those, life would just be a maddening droning on of time. Without a cycle of days, life would just be unmanageable. We would get behind and there would be no catching up. We'd get carried away with some things and neglect other things. Blessed be the God of new beginnings and second chances. And with each new day comes new grace. God dispenses grace by the day so that the sun rises in the morning. It comes with strength and enablement and courage and provision that were not available to you the day before. They're only available in this new day. Matthew 6:34, Jesus said, "Do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Tomorrow will come with the grace that you need for tomorrow." And so you don't have to import tomorrow's troubles into today. Just don't worry about them, because each day has its own trouble and its own grace. With tomorrow will come tomorrow's grace and a unique set of blessings from God. Zephaniah 3:5 says, "Morning by morning he dispenses justice, and every new day he does not fail." Every day is different. Every day is unique. Lamentations 3:22, his compassions never fail. They're new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Some people are afraid that eternity will just be monotonous and boring. They can't imagine anything that would keep them interested forever. They imagine that somehow an infinite God might run out of new ideas. They fear that this God who can speak a billion galaxies into existence with a word, might run short in his ability to satisfy the very desires that he planted in the human heart. What folly to imagine a God like that. People like that worry that the one whose love and deeds were spectacular enough to thrill the heart of the other members of the Trinity for all of eternity might not be enough to thrill the human heart for eternity future. All of that rises from a distorted conception of the nature of God. Um, so that's the biblical way to think about the new year. Now let me give you a few applications. I'll give you three. First, New Year's resolutions. How should we handle New Year's resolutions? Every year, New Year's resolutions have a bad reputation because no one ever keeps them. And part of that is because I think it's because we focus on a whole year. It might be the wrong segment of time. We focus on the whole year and we neglect the other segments of time that God gave us, the seasons, months, weeks, and years, or days. Resolutions are a very good thing. They're biblical. The Bible calls them vows, but they're helpful. They can be very helpful in bringing about change in your life, but year's probably not the right segment. It's probably too long for a vow. If you have some resolutions that you want to make right now, some New Year's resolutions, try making them for the month of January. Just make January resolutions, not the whole year. Nobody can make huge life changes on a dime just by resolving to make a change. That's not how changes come incrementally. That's how you grow and change, incrementally. So make a resolution to make a small, attainable, incremental change in the way you're behaving and living in January. Put it on your calendar then for the last few days of January to think through what the next little baby step incremental change is going to be that you want to add. You do that 12 times this year, and you're going to get much, much better results than just by making some kind of unrealistic vow today and then falling off the wagon in a few weeks. Remember God's design for creation: years, seasons, months, weeks, and days. Take advantage of all of them. Use them for the right things. So that's one application. Second application is on how to make the changes you want to make in 2025. No significant spiritual change happens just from a resolution, because resolutions don't have any power. You say, where do I get the power? How do I get the power? Well, I'm studying 2 Peter 1, and that tells exactly where the power comes from. His divine power has given us everything we need. How do you get it? According to 2 Peter 1, it comes through knowing God more deeply, and that happens through trusting God's great and precious promises. That's how you get the power for real change, trusting promises. And I'm going to explain that in a whole lot more detail when we do our next study. I think it's January 11th on 2 Peter 1:4. So keep your eye open for that study, because that's going to be such an important one. But for now, just realize the way to share in God's nature and escape corruption, moral corruption, is through trusting the promises. 2 Peter 1:4, it's very clear. Through his own glory and goodness, he has given us very great and precious promises, so that through them, through the promises, you may become sharers in the divine nature, having escaped the corruption in the world. So the only way your resolutions will work long term is if you accomplish them by trusting a specific promise in God's word. For each resolution you make, write down a specific promise. This change will happen in me if I trust this promise. This is a promise I need to work on trusting. That's the only thing that's going to give you the power to change. So focus on the promises. That's the second application. Third application. This is about one specific promise that you can trust all year long. Lamentations 3:23. His God's compassions are new every morning. His mercies are new every morning. They're not just new every morning, they're new every month and every year too. So think about the grace. Just take some time today. Think about the grace that God has in store for you in 2025. God has some things planned for you in this portion of your life, 2025, that were not possible until now. So these are going to be unique first time grace in your life. It's going to blessings that are going to happen in your life. There are so many wonderful things that are going to happen to you over the next 12 months that 12 months from now, you won't be able to remember them all. You won't. There's way too many, not even a fraction of them. So how about you make a resolution now to just enjoy them as they come? The book of Ecclesiastes talks about this a lot. Enjoy your wife, enjoy your food, enjoy your work, enjoy your youth, enjoy the basics of life. Learn to enjoy God's blessings as they come. So many of them are going to come at you. You've got so much happiness coming your way in 2025. If you're willing to receive it, there's a ton of it coming. So be ready to enjoy it. And be ready not to just enjoy the things, but enjoy the God who's giving you those things. Because Psalm 62:1 says, my soul finds rest in God alone. You're not going to find rest anywhere else, only in God alone. The giver, you have to see these gifts and enjoy them as expressions of his love. That's where the joy will come. So let me pray for you. Gracious Father, your mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Today is a new day and it starts a new year. I've had many years and many thousands of days so far in my life, and every one of them has been full of new mercies. And now I stand at the threshold of another new beginning. I can't imagine what you have in store for this year that would be new, different from all those other years, but I know it will happen. There will be some new grace, some new strength, some new steps in my walk, some new doors into your presence. Great is your faithfulness. You've already showered down grace upon me just today. You granted me sleep last night. You gave me life and breath and surrounded me with gifts and made it a beautiful morning full of hope and promise. Thank you for your constant new mercies.